As I said, I'm Ian Parney. I'm a neurosurgeon here at Mayo Clinic in Rochester and a clinician scientist. My clinical practice and my research interests really focus on folks with brain tumors. And it has been a really great partnership over the last few years with Brains Together for a Cure. They've really grown from a small to a thriving organization and been a huge part of our community for brain tumor patients and brain tumor research here in southeastern Minnesota. They really just do so many different things. I mean, they are kind of the center of a lot of the people in the community, patients, physicians, nurses, researchers, the whole community involved with brain tumors. There's a number of patients that are involved in the organization itself. They are very integral in a number of patient-oriented events for education and also for support. Local brain tumor support groups are represented through a lot of things through the Brains Together for a Cure. My interactions with them have been to a large degree driven by their support for research, and they've really been integral to that. When you have a really great research idea, it's difficult to take that to, say, a large agency like the NIH and say, I've got this great idea. They would say, well, we've got all these other people with great ideas, and we want to see some data on your idea before we're going to give you the support. So that initial kind of seed funding, which is what the Brains Together for a Cure does, is huge. That's just a huge stepping stone. And I've been involved in some projects through Dr. Nadia Locke and others on things like F-DOPA PET scans, which is a novel type of PET scan, which was initially funded by Brains Together for a Cure grant. And that's been able to sort of go through much bigger funding, through bigger clinical trials. And we're now in the process of trying to get that FDA approved for regular clinical use so patients can use that all the time. So that started with a Brains Together for a Cure grant. In my own lab, they've been tremendously supportive of a number of things that I do focused on brain tumor immunology and immunotherapy. Brain tumors are really good at shutting the immune system down, and we want to try and figure out how they do that. So we actually have some very interesting data that we were able to get with support from Brains Together for a Cure, showing that the tumor cells actually shed little parts of their cells themselves called extracellular vesicles that will actually change the immune cells so that they become more immunosuppressive. And we found some ways that we might be able to interrupt that interaction so that they can't do that anymore. So it's a way of kind of reversing that so we can get more effect from immunotherapies and things like that. We've actually just been awarded a grant from them to look at a different aspect of these extracellular vesicles so that we can actually find them in the blood of patients so that you could have a blood test to diagnose your brain tumor. So a liquid biopsy. And I always think people sometimes say, well, why would you need a liquid biopsy? We've got an MRI scan, and we're certainly never going to replace the MRI scan or, for that matter, an actual biopsy. But as anybody who's been involved in looking after patients with brain tumors knows, or if you've had the experience yourself or you're in family members, often the standard treatments that we prescribe, surgery, radiation, the chemotherapy, if they're working, you will often see kind of an inflammatory response in the brain that looks for all the world like tumor regrowing, and it's not. It's an inflammatory pseudoprogression, but it's very, very difficult to tell the difference. So that's why we're so excited about using this new technology funded by the Brains Together for a Cure grant to investigate, can we actually generate a blood test or invent a blood test to help diagnose and follow the outcome of patients with brain tumors as they get treatment so that we can treat people better and improve survival. So normally our immune systems are pretty good at sort of finding and getting rid of things that shouldn't be there, whether those are, bugs, bacteria, viruses, what have you. or even tumors as they develop. The thought is that maybe we all are, developing little tumor cells all the time, every day, but our immune system recognizes them right away and gets rid of them. So as a tumor grows, one of the things that it has to do to allow itself to grow is find ways to kind of evade the immune system, to hide from it. And glioblastomas are not unique in their ability to do that. Really, lots of malignant tumors throughout the body can do that. But I will say that gliomas, like glioblastomas, they're particularly good at it. And it's kind of striking, actually, because this is a tumor that doesn't really spread throughout the body, and yet it clearly has a systemic effect where patients with these types of tumors can have really low white blood cell counts and low white blood cell function, so that they just can't fight off other things, other bugs and bacteria, et cetera, as well as they might otherwise be able to do. But also, it's a limit to us as we're developing. We and others all around the world are developing new treatments for brain tumors to stimulate the immune system and to take the brakes off the immune system. But the fact that the tumors are so good, and these brain tumors are so good at shutting the immune system down, means that I think we need to sort of understand a little bit more about how they're doing that and how we can interrupt that. Sort of a key thing. These are difficult tumors, and I think anybody who is going to be listening to this video doesn't need me to tell them that. We know that these are difficult tumors. One of the things that I say to my patients all the time is that, we get better at treating these tumors all the time. We're better now than we were a year ago or 5 years ago. We're going to be better a year from now, 5 years from now than we are right now. This, Brains Together for a Cure and organizations like this is how we get better. Because it's so critical to have that seed money to be able to do the initial investigations to say, is there really something here that we can make a difference with? And I firmly believe that we are. As we talked about some of the things with the FDOPA PET studies that have been funded by the Brains Together for a Cure, which are a really new and better way of guiding surgery and guiding radiation treatments so that we get the best benefit from those procedures with the least risk. That we just wouldn't have had that before. And that's something that has grown from a small project funded by the Brains Together for a Cure at our one institution to something that we hope in the near future is going to be FDA approved. Similarly, the things that we're working on in immunotherapy and others are working on for other aspects of this, these are steps along the way to bring these new ideas to the table so that we can actually crack this nut, that we can do better for people with these really difficult tumors. I love the folks at the Brains Together for a Cure. They're a really good group of people. But one of the things that I really like the most about these get-togethers, the runs and the things that we do that way, is that it brings together so many people in the brain tumor community, because we are a community. The folks that have had these tumors and have these tumors, their families, their friends, those of us who are involved in the care of brain tumor patients and in brain tumor research, we all kind of know each other after a point, particularly in a community like ours, where in southeastern Minnesota, here we all are. And so it's a wonderful time to get together, to see how everybody's doing, to discuss, what's next, what's new, and just to have that support and interaction that way. I go with my whole family every year. 2 years ago, I ran the Boston Marathon. I like to think of myself as a long distance runner. And so when I ran the Boston Marathon, I did this to raise money for Brains Together for a Cure. And it was one of the things that, we did raise some money, which was wonderful, but it was also something that really helped motivate me to keep going. It was a pretty hard race, frankly. So I'm training again. We don't know when these races are going to happen again, and it's hard to get into Boston because you have to be fast, apparently. But it's going to happen again. I'm going to run Boston again, and when I do, we're going to use that opportunity to try and raise some more funds for Brains Together for a Cure.
We can't wait to cheer you on.
All
We'll
right.
get you a T-shirt or something.